What is the destiny? What is the ultimate goal of us? Where is the most wanted final stage that we are heading to? In the Hakdama of Sefer Chelek, of Perek Chelek, the Rambam, famous Hakdama over there, has a long arichus about Moshiach and Geulah. So the Rambam writes that there was 5 different groups of people that they have different perspectives of what is the final goal that we're trying to head to. What's their dream that we're heading to? So one person imagines we're going to go up to a spiritual world. A different person imagines they're going to have a lot of money. And each person, each group has different names. Some people call it Gan Eden. Some people call it Olam Haba. Some people call it Yemais HaMoshiach. But the Rambam says everyone missed the point. So let's find from Chazal what is the ultimate that we are heading to. So you can see on the Mekaydes sheet, I just want to start off with saying that this shiur is a little preview of a 100-page curriculum. When I was in Shlichus, we put together on this topic. This Indian goes through Melbourne. This Indian goes through Mekaydes Chazal, the Gemaras, the Rishonim, and obviously the Rabbi Hendel. But we'll go through the Nukudis now in short. So the Gemara in Brachos, Lamedal Amud Beis, the Gemara says, Kol HaNeviim kulan le'nisnabu el Yemais HaMoshiach, that all the nevuos, Yeshaya, and all the nevuos that we have about Moshiach, they're all talking about Yemais HaMoshiach. Aval, Olam Haba, Ayin lo yirasa, Elokim zulasecha. But Olam Haba, no eye has seen. Even the Nevi'im haven't seen it. Only Elokim, only Hashem. Ya'aseh, the Eibishter will do Olam Haba, limechake loy, for those that are waiting for it. So we see from this Gemara that Yemais HaMoshiach is not tachlis of the world. It's not. That's stage 1. After Yemais HaMoshiach, there's going to be a later stage called Olam Haba. So what most Lubavitch Shabachim know, based kufis in Yemais HaMoshiach. But the based kufis in Yemais HaMoshiach, l'choira, as of now, it's not the tachlis of the world. After Yemais HaMoshiach, there's going to be Olam Haba. So first we need to set the Yesoid HaYesoidis, which is the tachlis of the Olamais, and the tachlis of the Neshamis is Olam Haba. Now that that's set from Chazal, the Shaila is, what is Olam Haba? So there's a Gemara in Brachos. Earlier in Maseches Brachos, the Gemara says, Ha'olam Haba, in Boiloi Achila V'loi Shsiya. In Olam Haba, we won't be eating or drinking. There's still going to be a Mashiach Shiurim, just without the Farbais in the Cheda. V'loi Priya Revia, V'loi Maso Matan, V'loi Kina, V'loi Sina, V'loi Tachrus. There's not going to be any business, no jealousy. So what are we going to be doing? Elo tzadikim yoshvim. Look at every word. Every word here is important. Elo tzadikim yoshvim. Tzadikim will be sitting. V'atreisehem b'reishehem. And their crowns will be on their heads. V'nehnim miziv hashchina. And they will benefit, they will have pleasure from the ziv of the Shechina. So what is Olam Haba? So the Gemara tells us, no eating and drinking, no business, no marriage, no priyodivya. Rather, sitting with crowns, nen miziv hashchina. That's the Gemara. Now this Gemara, there's a machlekes between the Rishonim and what's the pshat in this Gemara. This is the famous machlekes Rambam and Ramban. So here, The Rambam talks about this mamish in length. Bechlos, it's split into 3 places. Okay? Telling you for reference if you want to look up the sugi afterwards. The first place, I'm not saying it in order, the 3 places. In Hilchos Tshuva, Perek Ches, the whole Perek from beginning to the end. In Pirush HaMishnayos LaRambam, Hakdoma LePerek Chelek. And the third place is Techiyas HaMeisim. These are the 3 places. So in Hilchos Tshuva, the Rambam writes, Perek Ches Halacha Beis. Look at the Lashon. Very important. Ha'olam haba. Ein boi gufu gevia. There's no body. Elo nafshois hatzadikim bilvad. Beloi guf. Nishameis without gufim. Kimalachi asharis. How does the Rambam know that? Does it say that in the Gemara? Does the Gemara say anywhere the olam haba there's no gufim? Look at the Lashon of the Gemara in Berachos. Berachos Yud Zayin Amud Beis. It doesn't say no gufim. It says no eating, no marriage, no business. It says the Rambam, Hoyil ve'en boi gviis, being that there's no body in olam haba, therefore ein boi lo yachila v'lo yishsiya. Therefore there's no eating. Says the Rambam, what's the Rambam saying here? The Gemara says there's no eating. Why? Why is there no eating in olam haba? Why not? Now you eat. Moshiach you can eat. Why is there no eating in olam haba? Muzmen zagin, because there's no gufim. Because if there's a guf, it includes eating. A guf has to eat. So if the Gemara says that there's no eating, it's a hechrich, according to the Rambam, that there's no guf. Because if there's a guf, you must be eating. If you're not eating, it means there's no guf. So when the Rambam reads the Gemara in Brachos, the Rambam has a hechrich, that olam haba is neshamis beloi gufim. Verstandig? Yeah. A guf has to eat. Yeah? What do you say? A guf has to eat? What? Techiyas HaMeisim. Sorry? The shaman is eines in a guf. Was meant? Okay. A guf has to eat. Okay, we're going to skip a little bit. We're going to go a little on to this topic. Does the guf have to eat? So I didn't put the whole thing here. It's a long arichos. We'll take one nekuda. Igeres Techiyas HaMeisim lo Rambam. The Rambam says a guf has to eat. Okay? Whatever you thought your guf was, it's about to change completely. It says the Rambam, your guf has 3 parts to it. Igeres Techiyas HaMeisim lo Rambam ubiru zeh. The guf has 3 parts. The first part, you see there's a small dash. First part is kelim shabahem yushlam hamazin. All parts of your body related to food, which means your stomach, your mouth, your hands to get the food, digesting system. That's one segment of your body. Second part, the kelim shabahem tiya ilada. All the parts of the body related to having children, in order that there could be more people. Third parts of the body, the kelim shabahem tikun inyonei haguf. The parts of the body needed in order to survive. So for example, you need eyes to live, because you need to see the food to be able to take the food. You need hands to pick up the food. So basically the Rambam says your body is a survival machine. Every limb of your body is all there to help you survive. There's the digesting part. That's many limbs of your body. There's a part that makes you have children so there can be more people. And then there's the third part, which is there to help you eat, which is your eyes, your ears, your hands. So says the Rambam, if the whole point of the body is only there to help you eat, then if you're not eating, why do we need your body? In Olam Haba, there's no eating. So let's imagine, says the Rambam, let's imagine having a body without eating. So what are you going to need your mouth for? What are you going to need your stomach for? What are you going to need any part of your body? The whole body is only there to eat. Muzmen zagin, that if you're not eating, there's no body. Chab? It's a good pshat. What? There's anybody like Priya or Revia. So you don't need the other part of the guf. The brain is, says the Rambam, the brain is to help you figure out how to get food. So if the whole function of your body is a survival machine to help you live by eating and drinking, and you're not going to have to eat and drink, there's no guf. That's the sheet of the Rambam. Okay, now let's go back a little bit. Let's see what the other Rishonim say. Actually, one point. So let's go back to let's finish how the Rambam learns the Ma'amer Chazal. So what are we doing? If there's no body, tzadikin yoishvim. What does yoishvim? If there's no body, you can't sit. So I'll say it outside. This is the keta where it says hemshich. Yoishvim, says the Rambam, is symbolically. When you say someone is sitting, you mean he's calm, he's relaxed. In Olam Haba, it's going to be in the Shamis, and they're going to be calm, it's going to be menucha. So they're called yoishvim. So tzadikin, yoishvim, not literally, they're going to be calm. Ve'atreiseihem b'reishem. They're wearing their crowns. What does crown mean? Says the Rambam, the crown doesn't mean literally. Crown means your seichel. Which seichel? The Chassidus that you learned in Olam Hazeh. That's what the Rambam writes. The Rambam writes, the day that you learned about the Eibishter in Olam Hazeh, that crown is b'reishem, is what you're going to be having. And what does nenem miziv hashchina mean? You're going to be able to understand the Eibishter. So we're going to be in Olam Haba, calm, yoshvin. Our seichel that we learned in Olam Hazeh will be with us, and we'll be able to learn about the Eibishter. That's the way the Rambam learns the Gemara Brachas Yudzayin Amud Beis. Verstandig? Okay, let's see the Machlikas now. So the Ravid Al-Asar argues with the Rambam. Sagas Ravid. We'll do the bold part. He says, Avol, not like the Rambam says, Efshar sha'abayre yosem gviyosam chazokes ubriyos. Our bodies will be strong and healthy, kegviyos hamalachim ukegviyos Eliyahu zochel hatev. Like malachim and like Eliyahu, and we're going to be living in strong bodies forever. So the Ravid argues with the Rambam, and he says, Olam Haba, it's going to be bodies. Okay, so now, if you're going to hold that it's bodies, that you're going to have a body, you have to understand, how are we not eating and drinking in Olam Haba? The Gemara says, you're not going to eat and drink. And the Rambam says, the whole point of your body is only to eat or drink. So there's the Ramban. The Ramban wrote a sefer called Chai Yodam, I think. And it's Shiurim. And in one of the Shiurim, it's called Shara Gemul. Gemul means schar. Gemul, like reward. You ever saw in the Rebbe's in the Maram Kemis, Seif Shara Gemul? If you didn't see it, that means you never learned the sugya. Every single time that the Rebbe brings the sugya, the Rebbe writes Seif Shara Gemul Ramban. So I checked it up. There's 40 pages. The Ramban talks about the sugya, and Imamish does a very geshmak shir. He quotes paragraph by paragraph of the Rambam, and he asks, Koloshin and Rambam, he asks, he answers. So first thing he always does is he sticks up for the Rambam. Why? Because there were many people that hold that the Rambam was Pashal HaKofer. The Ramban sticks up for the Rambam. Then he argues, but first he always sticks up for the Rambam. And he pushes away all the tightness that people have. So one of the biggest tightness that people have is that it seems from the Rambam that there's no Techiyas HaMeisim. Why? Because what's the tachlis? What's Olam Haba? The Shama is begufim. According to the Rambam, Shama is beloy gufim. When does that happen? When you pass away. So it sounds like when you pass away, that's tachlis hakavana. Now to the Shama is beloy gufim. You're never going to come back. So that's what, when you learn the Rambam, that's what it sounds like. So the Ramban, he clarifies that the Rambam holds that we're going to come back by Techiyas HaMeisim. But after Techiyas HaMeisim, then we'll be in the Shammais below Gufim. Okay. But says the Ramban, Nish Temes. He says, Olam Haba is Neshamis Begufim. What's the hechrech of the Ramban? There's many hechrechim of the Ramban. Many of them are born in the Rebbe Sichis. In the Kuntres Dvamalchus, the Rebbe Geulah, the Rebbe quotes there, two of them. But there's one very, very simple one. Everyone knows the famous Gemara. There's the Mishnah that says, Kol Yisrael Yishalem Chelek L'Olam Haba. This year is 50 years to the 12 Psukim. Kol Yisrael Yishalem Chelek L'Olam Haba. Shout out for Pekarski. What does chelek? Was Kivman? Kivman's there. Kivman. In Marine Park by the Chabados, we made a big kach for Yid Psukim. We gave out 500 Yid Psukim booklet, whatever. But Bekitzer, Kol Yisrael Yishem chelek le'olam haba. What's the pshat olam haba here? Achlekes Ramban. Rambam says it means neshama is below gufim. Ramban says neshama is begufim. But says the Ramban, you must learn it's neshama is begufim. Because the Gemara, Sanhedrin Daf Tzadik Aleph, the Gemara says there, why is someone not going to have a chelik in Olam Haba? So the Mishnah says, if someone is koifen in Techiyas HaMeisim, he's not going to have a chelik in Olam Haba. Says the Gemara, why? Because who kofa b'Techiyas HaMeisim, therefore you're not going to have a chelik in Techiyas HaMeisim. Says the Gemara, so says the Ramban, we're using the word Techiyas HaMeisim in Olam Haba. Muzayin, that Olam Haba here means Techiyas HaMeisim, which means neshama is begufim. You have to raya muvhekes. You can't be chelik on such a raya. Taki, by the way, most of the Shoinim hold like the Ramban. Okay, so the Ramban holds that it's going to be kipshute. So if so, how does the Ramban answer the Rambam's taina? Why in Olam Haba we're not going to eat and drink? So why are you going to need your stomach? What's your stomach going to be in Olam Haba if you're not going to eat or drink? It's going to be out of service. And also, how are you going to live if you're not going to eat and drink? So Lafa has an answer. Neshama nizenis min haguf. How are you going to live? So there's a solution. So let's go to the first question. What's your stomach going to be? So maybe when in Olam Haba you're not going to have a stomach. You don't need the stomach. You're not going to have the whole digesting system, maybe. Could be. The Rambam says if you say that, you're a fool. So what are we going to be? We're going to be like a stick, right? Because most of your limbs is like we just said, it's to eat, to digest the food, to have children. So all those limbs we're going to take out. So what are you going to be? You're going to be like a stick. So the Rambam says maybe you're going to be like maybe a circle. Like what are you going to be? I think I pointed this part of the Rambam. Huh? Stick figures. 1 second. Here. It's where it says Hemshich. The bold Hemshich. Right on top of the Sharak Mula Rambam. We're not going to have any limbs. We're just going to be bodies without a liver. We're going to be maybe kadurim or amudim or mukavim or square. Okay. So that can be. So you're going to have a stomach. You're going to have a body. So what's going to be the purpose of it? So the Ramban has two answers. First of all, he says, a balabadish answer. He says, you don't need it. But you already have it. So I'm going to take it away. Taga. There's no need for your whole body, most of the body. But we're just not going to take it away. Because once you have it, you have it. Then he says, Geulah. It's a geschmack of it. He says, we're created in the image of the Eibishter. So you're right that you're not going to need a stomach to eat food. But the stomach, must probably learn Samachvav, like what it says, the Golgalta, like what exactly it means. But our guf is a skitzir of the Eibishter. So it's going to have, in the Lashon of the Raman means, it's going to have a Kabbalah, Soidis HaKabbalah in the tzir of the guf. So you're still going to need the guf even though you're not eating. So how are we going to live? So let's search history to find people that lived without eating. So let's find. So first of all, says the Ramban, we have the Yidden in the Midbar. How did the Yidden in the Midbar live? The man. What's man? Lechem min hashamayim. Which means that they lived off ruchnius. What does lechem min hashamayim? It doesn't mean it only fell from the sky. It means it fell from shamayim haruchni. The man was ruchnius that came betzura gashmi. And that's what they ate and they lived from. They made the bracha, like the famous thing that the Rishonim said, they made the bracha, hamoitzi lechem min hashamayim. And they lived. So you see, it's possible to live off ruchnius. Or, says the Ramban, but it came b'tzir gashmi. Oh, says the Ramban, okay, fine. So let's find people that are more edel than the generation of the Dera Midbar. Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai for 40 days. He didn't eat and drink. How did he live? Famous thing in Gimel Tam stuff the Rebbe brings in the others 3 ways how to learn it. But the Ramban learns, how did he live? He lived off Ruchnius, which means his Gufa Gashmi, his blood was moving. He lived off Ruchnius for 40 days. But then says the Ramban, that's only 40 days. So no problem. Eliyahu Navi is living now off Ruchnius. He's not eating. So b'meila we see that it's possible for someone that's completely oisge'edot to live off Ruchnius. What? He doesn't come beguf to the bris. There's a sikh, the Rebbe says that he doesn't come beguf. It's good. Verstehst? But when Moshiach comes, we're going to be a lot more oisge'edot, so it's going to be oifin kavua of every year to live off Ruchnius. It's gewaldig that this is the Ramban saying. That's not in Chassidus. This is Poshet Alpin Nigla, what the Ramban is saying. Okay, who's the halacha like? The Rambam or the Ramban? Ramban, how do you know? You learned? What? Darmalchus. Oh. Darmalchus. Okay, so let's take a look. So before the Rashvi, you could say the halacha is like the Ramban. But if someone says halacha is like the Ramban, it's a shtickle problem. So in Likutei Torah Parshat Tzav, the Alter Rebbe quotes this sugya. The Alter Rebbe writes, "Olam haba in B'lo Yachila, ufi das Rambam's koil olam neshamis." The Ramban said, "How is it possible?" The Ramban says shaila here. The Ramban fakir. The Ramban asks on the Rambam. He says, "If you're saying that we're not eating means there's no body, my kamash malan." According to the Ramban, it makes sense. You're alive in a guf, and yet you're not eating. There's a chiddush. But according to the Rambam, there's no chiddush to say you're not eating if there's no body. Just say there's no body. That's a shadow of the Ramban and the Rambam. Elom masik, the third line, shekoy azman Techiyas HaMeisim. So from the words Elom masik, we learn that the Alter Rebbe is being masik, Loshen Maskona, like the Ramban. And again, in Likutei Torah Parshas Shabbos Shuvah, he brings the machlokes and he passes like the Ramban. Sefer HaMitzvos La'atzamach Tzedek in Derech Mitzisecha, it's much clearer. He brings the whole machlokes, the Hinei Rambam, Aval Ramban, Nechlak. You can read the whole keta. It's very interesting. And at the end, the words that are bold, which is the main words, V'chein hu ha'emes al-pi ha'kabbalah. The halacha is like the Ramban, that is going to be olam haba neshamis begufim. So what's the pshat? Now that we know the halacha is like the Ramban, what's the pshat? We're going to have Yemei Mashiach. After Yemei Mashiach is going to be Techiyas HaMeisim, and Techiyas HaMeisim is going to be le'olam voed. After Techiyas HaMeisim, that is already, we're going to turn into olam, we're going to go into the stage of olam haba, and all those that came alive, and all those that are alive will stay alive, le'olam voed. Good, like the Ramban. Why is the halacha like the Ramban? It's a geschmack word from the Rebbe. Very geschmack word. Sichas Chag Shavuos Tafshin Chav Zayin. We know that when there's a machlokes Rav and Shmuel, the halacha kerav b'isuri k'shmuel b'mamayne. That's a klal in Shas. Why? So everyone knows the pshat of the klal in Shas. Because Rav was a mumche more in Isuri. Shmuel was a mumche more in Mamayni. So therefore, that's why Allah Karab Isuri Shmuel Mamayni. Says the Rebbe, based off that, in Yonei of Pnimis, of Geulah, of Pnimis HaTeira, who's a bigger mumche, the Rambam or the Ramban? So the Rambam didn't learn Kabbalah. Till Seif Yomov, the Rambam learned Kabbalah. He learned Zohar. We know for a fact he learned Zohar. Common times he quotes a Nekuda that the only Mokeh for it Zohar. So we know B'Seif Yomov Le'Rambam he learned Kabbalah. LeHarambam, he learned Kabbalah. But most of his life he didn't. The Rambam wasn't a mumche in Kabbalah. Mashenkin, the Ramban quotes all the time. The Ramban was a mumche in Kabbalah. So in this sugya, who's a bigger mumche? The Rambam or the Ramban? The Ramban. That's why Allah is like the Ramban. That's what the Rebbe says. Very geschmack in the kudah. Okay, the Allah is like the Ramban. So I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Anyone learned the Maimed? V'nocha Tovshin Chafei. In the footnote, it's a Mugedike Maimed. Footnote like Mamish in the beginning. 7, 8. The Rebbe quotes this Indian. The Rebbe says, Ilam Haba is Techiyas HaMeisim. And then the Rebbe writes, it's Kufa Aleph and Kufa Abeis. Because we know the Rebbe has a Chiddush. It's Merumos in the Shalah, but it's Chos, the Rebbe's Chiddush, that the Rambam holds there's 2 Tkufas in Yemois HaMashiach. I'm not going to go into the Sugya. Everyone definitely should or already does know it. So in that footnote, the Rebbe writes like this. The Rebbe writes in the Gufa Maimer that there's going to be the first Kufa of Yemois HaMashiach, and then the second Kufa. In the footnote, the Rebbe writes, Al Pi, I forgot the Loshen, but Al Pi, the Pshara that Chassidus makes between the Rambam and the Ravid. Pella? Pshara between the Rambam, if anyone can, I don't have the Loshen there. Maybe I have it. Oh, you want to check? It's there? Yeah? Says it? Plugged in. No. No. No, it's not here. What? No. It's Memches. This was probably in Memches. What? No, this is Chafei. If anyone can check Memches. Tafshim Memches. Menachem Memches. Menach Yudalet, I mean. Menach Yudalet. I think it's more... It's here?
Scroll down like you want to find it. This is the first page.
Okay, I'm going to find it and I'll... The Rebbe writes like the pshara that Chassidus makes between the Rambam and the Ravid. I'm 100% sure this is the Lashon. This is the Indian. That's number one. So why is that a pella? There's no pshara between the Rambam and the Ramban. We pass like the Ramban. Also, in Likutei Sichos, there's a remes from the Rebbe that it could be, okay, I'm leaving it open sugya, it could be that once the Rebbe said that there's 2 tkufis in Yemois HaMashiach, it could be that there's no more machlekes between the Rambam and the Ramban. Because it could be that when we said the halach is like the Ramban, that's because we thought that Yemois HaMashiach has 1 tkufa. Once you learn that there's 2 tkufis in Yemois HaMashiach, it's possible that the Rebbe learns now that there's a pshara between the Rambam and the Ramban. Okay, I'm leaving that open because I don't have a chrei about it, but there's definitely where the Rebbe writes that it's a pshara between the Rambam and the Ramban. But anyways, there's a famous sikha, the Hadrin, where the Rebbe writes at the end of the Hadrin that the Rambam is moided to the Ramban. The Rebbe writes as follows. That the Rambam argues and writes that the Tachas is only Eilam and Neshames. That's nowadays, in Golus, you can't fathom that the Tachas is going to be a Neshama and a Guf. But once Moshiach comes, we're going to derher the Maila of the Guf. And we're going to be able to derher, even the Rambam then is going to be maskim to the Ramban that the Tachas is going to be Neshames Begufim. Okay, just to end off with one Nukuda. This machlokes in the Rambam and the Ramban be'emes is the yesod of the whole Samach Vav. Why? What is the noisei of Samach Vav? What's the noise of Samach Vav? The noisei is Tachlis. The first maimer is that the Tachlis of B'riyas Olam is liyes loydira betachtoinim. That's not like Shittas HaRambam. That's Shittas HaRamban. The Rambam doesn't hold of dira betachtoinim. The Rambam holds the ultimate is neshamas b'loi gufim. And the whole beard of Samach Vav is going to explain how Torah, how mitzvahs, and then now from after you try to explain how Torah is mamshich, the Geulah of Atzmos davke in this olam. So the whole Yesod of Samach Vav, you have to know, is the Shittas HaRamban, which is the Achrei of Chassidus, that the tachlis of this world is neshamas big gufim, to make a dira bitachtoinim, and davke in this world is where we're able to connect with Atzmos. Moshiach